So this is our IVSS sample valve. This one actually is the wafer design, which is utilized to go between two existing flanges in the piping. The process flows through this center port here all the time. As it's continuously flowing, you're able to come up and collect samples. Now we have two different options. We have the wafer design that you see here, and we also have an inline type design which utilizes flanges. So if you didn't want to sandwich between two with a wafer, you could actually just hook up to flanges on either side of the valve. And as you'll see here, there is a rod or a spindle that goes down through the valve and is actually sealing it off when you're not collecting a sample. So when the operator walks up, essentially what they will do is they'll be able to pull out this pin, which will be chained on, and then simply pull the lever to them. And when they pull that lever, they're actually able to pull up on that spindle, which allows the process to flow down into the sample bottle and begin to fill that bottle. It's a manual process, so when the valve handle is pulled, it is filling, and then when the valve handle is let go, it springs back closed and shuts off so that you don't have any chance of someone leaving the valve open. The other nice thing about it is as you can see here, I can adjust that. It's not a fully open or fully closed. It's a transition, so the operator can actually kind of throttle by pulling on that lever, throttle it and allow the bottle to fill slowly or as fast as needed if they've got a larger bottle. And this particular setup that I've got shown right here includes a shroud assembly and a bottle. And the nice thing about that is it's a closed loop design. So you actually have needles that puncture the septum in this bottle. And as the sample is filling the bottle, the vapors are displaced out of that bottle and go out a vent port that is right here. So essentially, you have the same design features that you would have on our typical grab sample stations, which is to have needles that inject the sample into the bottle and then a separate vent needle that allows those vapors to escape, so you're not pressurizing the sample bottle. So the nice thing about that is, if a customer is accustomed to sampling in bottles with caps and septas, no different here. They can utilize our inline sample valve, but also still utilize the bottles that they traditionally would use for collecting. Now, if the operator or the facility is not using needles and instead they're using kind of lab type bottles that have a threaded top, we can also provide a adapter that they can actually just thread their bottle up into to collect the sample. Now, this also has a vent connection here where as the process fills through the center port, those vapors are displaced out of the bottle and come out the vent right here. Once the sample is collected, the operator has to unthread that bottle and momentarily exposes the sample to the atmosphere and then also exposes themselves to any sort of fumes or anything that are coming off that. So then they've got to put a cap on that bottle before they take it back to the lab. So that's the disadvantage. With the traditional needles where you're filling a bottle with a septum and allowing the vent to go out the vent needle, when you pull this off, the septum material is self-healing, it kind of closes up, and you don't have any exposure to the operator. And that's why we, of course, call that closed loop. You're closing that loop on the vapors actually going to atmosphere, and instead those vapors are taken to a safe location, such as a flare line or an emission filter or some sort of vapor recovery unit. Basically, we've got the two different options. You may say, well, what if I have needles and then I want to change to a bottle that is thread in, or I just be able to buy one or the other from you? How can I do that? Well, it's very simple with our design. Essentially, these two bolts are removed. The needle assembly that is here attached to that shroud comes off, and then this Teflon adapter can be placed on the bottom of the bottom connection of the valve, and then with a typical tri-clover clamp, that is clamped into position very easily. And once that happens and that's tightened up, essentially you now have, within just a couple of seconds, you saw me change that out. Now you can sample directly into this media lab bottle that we've got here. Our assembly of that is very simple and takes just seconds to give the customer whichever one they want. The traditional needles that we're normally using, or a thread-in bottle adapter. And then also we'll be able to mount the valve in a horizontal position, or so that the pipe is vertical. And then we have adapters that allow that bottle to be rotated so that it will still fill properly and it won't fill sideways like that. So we have those available, and we'll be offering those to any customer that needs to mount the valve into a vertical process line. Some of the other design features with this valve are the fact that we have a weep hole which is above the packing, which will allow the operator to see if there is any leakage that is passing through, so that they can flag this assembly that it needs to be repaired, or if the packing needs to be replaced. They'll be able to very easily see that. Again, one of the other features was, if this valve is not being used, it's out of service, somebody needs to work on it, a lock pin can be placed in it, and that way it can actually be locked out so that someone doesn't inadvertently try to use the system if there's any sort of issue with it. The valve itself that I'm showing right here is all 3/16 stainless steel. We are going to be able to produce this, or can produce this, in Hastelloy C276 for any of those harsh applications which require something beyond stainless steel. So if there's anything like that, we will certainly be able to offer that Hastelloy C material for that. And again, this is the largest assembly that we have. This is for a 3-inch line. So the 1-inch and the 2-inch line sizes will be much smaller than this. Depending upon what the customer wants, we can design whatever length that they want between two flanges. If there's additional sizes that they may need, certainly we can accommodate that very easily. Looking forward to getting these out and showing our customers what we have to offer.